Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the chemistry online class, and today we are going to the part 3 of acids, bases and salts. In this part, we are going to discuss what do acids and bases have in common, what happens when acids and bases are added to water, and when it is added to water, what type of reaction is taking place, and few value based questions. Before going into the part, let us have a very quick recap.
In the previous part, we have seen reactions of metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates with acids, and reactions of acids and bases, and what happens when metallic oxides react with bases, and what happens when non-metallic oxides react with acids. To understand the reaction of metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates, we started with this activity. Metal carbonate we have taken sodium carbonate, and metal hydrogen carbonate we have taken sodium hydrogen carbonate. This activity involved the above reaction. When sodium carbonate reacts with hydrochloric acid, it forms the respective sodium salt, which is sodium chloride, with the liberation of carbon dioxide and water, where sodium carbonate is the metal carbonate and commonly known as soda ash. Similarly, when metal hydrogen carbonate, which we have taken as sodium hydrogen carbonate, reacts with hydrochloric acid, it forms the respective metal salt sodium chloride with the liberation of carbon dioxide and water. The metal hydrogen carbonate NaHCO3 is very commonly known as baking soda, and the chemical name is sodium hydrogen carbonate. The second type of reaction what we have seen is neutralization reaction, in which acids gets neutralized with the base and bases gets neutralized with acids respectively to form salt and water. In this slide we can see hydrochloric acid reacting with sodium hydroxide to form sodium chloride and water. The other example which is given is sulfuric acid reacting with sodium hydroxide to form the respective salt, which is sodium sulfate, with the liberation of water. Therefore, during a neutralization reaction, an acid and a base react to produce a salt and water. The salts which are formed by the neutralization reaction are ionic compounds consisting of an anion and a cation. We can see few examples here: hydrochloric acid with sodium hydroxide, sulfuric acid with sodium hydroxide, and hydrochloric acid with calcium hydroxide, where acids and bases react to form salt and water. And then we have seen what is acidity, how it is caused. Acidity is a set of symptoms caused by excess production of acid by the gastric glands of the stomach. Your stomach naturally produces gastric or hydrochloric acid to help digestion and break down the food. When acidity occurs, the excess acid may move up from the stomach to your chest, causing irritation in the esophagus, food pipe and chest. A very quick remedy to acidity is baking soda dissolved in water. Apart from baking soda, a famous antacid is milk of magnesia. The third reaction what we have seen is metal oxides reacting with acids. Metal oxides are generally basic in nature. So when they react with acids, they form the respective salt and water, resembling a neutralization reaction. Most metal oxides are not soluble. They are bases but not alkalis. This means they are often slower and may need heating to make them react. In the above equation, copper oxide reacts with sulfuric acid to form copper sulfate and water. Here, copper oxide acts as a base. Similarly, when copper oxide reacts with hydrochloric acid, it forms copper chloride with water, which is also an example for neutralization reaction. The last reaction what we have seen in the last part is how do bases react with non-metallic oxides. Non-metallic oxides react with bases to give salts and water. Non-metal oxide plus base gives salt and water. The non-metallic oxide carbon dioxide reacting with a strong base sodium hydroxide to form sodium carbonate and water, and calcium hydroxide reacting with carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate and water. Here metal in base reacts with carbon dioxide to form a salt. Hydrogen adds with oxygen in non-metal oxide to form water. This is similar to neutralization reaction. Let us see the reaction between carbon dioxide and calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide is also called as lime water or slaked lime. Here calcium hydroxide, which is a base, reacts with carbon dioxide to form salt and water. So the conclusion given in the last part is metallic oxides are basic in nature and non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. So they behave as bases and acids respectively to resemble a very common neutralization reaction where acid reacts with base to form salt and water.
Now let us see a value-based question related to the topic, which is why curd or any other sour substances should not be stored in copper or brass vessel. Why curd or any other sour food substances should not be stored in brass or copper vessel. Now, after reading this question, you have to recollect the reactions of acids with metals, which we have explained with an activity. When acid reacts with metal, it forms the respective metallic salt with the evolution of hydrogen gas. Now, the sour substances will contain acids. For example, curd contains lactic acid and most of the sour substances will contain acids because acids are sour in taste. Now, when they react with the metal surface, it forms the salt, which is actually very poisonous to health. And even the evolution of hydrogen gas, when hydrogen gas reacts with other substances in the food and the metal surface, even it causes harmful effects. So, the sour substances, example curd, pickle, etc., should not be stored on the metal vessels because it will cause harmful effect to the health by the formation of the toxic salt and the evolution of hydrogen gas. Now moving on to the reaction part of this session. The first reaction what we are going to see is, what do all acids have in common? We know many acids. For example, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, acetic acid. Many examples we know. What is common in this acid? When I was telling you the introduction part of acids, I told you that acids are the substances which give out excess of H plus ions when dissolved in water. Yes, acid can be defined as the substance or the compound which gives out H plus ions when dissolved in water. Now the question is, the compounds which have H or which dissociate into H plus ions or acids? No. There are few differences between the compounds which give out H plus ions and considered as acids, and few compounds will not give out H plus ions even when dissolved in water. So, the common thing in all the acids is they have H plus ions. We will see few reactions how there is dissociation of H plus ion from an acid. The first example is hydrochloric acid. The formula of hydrochloric acid, which is nothing but hydrogen chloride, is HCl. Now what happens when HCl is dissociated? This bond breaks and it becomes H plus cation and Cl minus anion. This is H plus ion and this is Cl minus ion. Similarly, when we consider sulfuric acid, this acid will also get dissociated easily and forms H plus ion and sulfate anion. H plus ion, which is a cation, and sulfate ion, which is an anion. Similarly, when we go for nitric acid, HNO3, it will also spontaneously dissociate as H plus cation and nitrate ion, which is NO3 minus. All these are strong acids, or we can also call these acids as mineral acids. Now let us see an example of weak acid. Weak acid, let us take ethanoic acid, which is an organic acid, and organic acids are weak in nature. What happens then? Ethanoic acid is dissociated. It forms acetate ion and H plus cation. Forms acetate ion, which is an anion, and H plus cation. So what is common in all the acids? The common part in all the acids is H plus ions. So the acids will get dissociated as H plus ions. That is what common in all acids. Now generally when we consider a compound containing H, if a compound containing H is also an acid, no, that is totally different. So all compounds containing H are not acids, but acids will contain H as well. That you will understand when we perform an activity now. By inference of that activity or by result of that activity, you will come to know which compounds will come under acids and which are not acids, though they have H plus in common. Now let us see an activity to infer what do all acids have in common. For this activity, you have been given 4 sample solutions. Solution A, dilute hydrochloric acid. Solution B, dilute nitric acid. Solution C is glucose, and solution D is alcohol or ethanol. These solutions are given separately. And then they have given you an 100 ml beaker with cork immersed in it, and above the cork 2 nails are immersed. And to the nails they have connected to the battery and a switch. Step 1, you are going to pour the sample solution A, which is dilute hydrochloric acid, into the beaker and start connecting it to the electricity. And when the switch is on, they have fixed a bulb against the volt, and when the switch is on, the bulb starts burning. This is for sample solution A. Repeat the same experiment with sample solution B, which is dilute nitric acid. The same inference is found, that is, the bulb started to glow when the electricity is passed. The same thing is repeated for sample C and sample D as well. But in controversy, the bulb does not glow when current is passed through sample C, which is glucose, and sample D, which is alcohol. So the first 2 samples, when electricity is passed to the first 2 samples, they are good conductors of electricity and the bulb started to glow. Whereas the samples C and D, when passed through current, they do not conduct electricity and the bulb does not glow. Why? The 4 sample solutions which we have taken is HCl, HNO3 and glucose and alcohol. And I have told you that these 2 solutions, when it is passed through electricity, the bulb was glowing. But when these 2 solutions are passed through electricity, the bulb doesn't glow. Why is? They do not separate out as hydrogen ions on dissolving in water. These 2 solutions will not get easily ionized to H plus ions when dissolved in water. The hydrogen containing compounds do not behave as acids, which do not dissociate or ionize in water to produce H plus ions. So all acids will have H plus in common, but the acids or the compounds which has hydrogen should easily dissociate into hydrogen plus ions. If it is not easily dissociating or not at all ionizing to produce H plus ions, they are not considered to be acids. That is what happened in glucose and alcohol. Though they contain hydrogen atoms, they will not get easily dissociated to H plus ions. Since there is no dissociation of H plus ions spontaneously, they do not conduct electricity. Whereas in hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, there is easy dissociation of H plus ions with which the electricity was conducted by the solution. Therefore, though all acids contain hydrogen, but all hydrogen containing compounds are not acids. The meaning of this sentence is, acids containing hydrogen is common. All acids will contain hydrogen, but all hydrogen compounds are not said to be acidic in nature. This is what we have inferred from this activity. Again I repeat, the strong acids HCl and HNO3 will get easily dissociated to H plus ion. Thereby they conduct electricity and the bulb starts to glow. Whereas in glucose and alcohol, there is no easy dissociation of H plus ions, or they do not ionize to H plus ions in water. Thereby they do not conduct electricity. Since there is no conductivity in glucose and alcohol, the bulb will not glow with these two solutions. This point is very important. Though all acids contain hydrogen, but all hydrogen containing compounds are not acids. Justify the statement. For this question you should answer, the hydrogen containing compounds do not behave as acids which do not dissociate or ionize in water to produce H plus ions. This is what this activity infers.
Now let us see a logical based question. Why rainwater conducts electricity but distilled water does not? Why rainwater conducts electricity but distilled water does not? And even at times, if a person or animal is in contact with electricity, stay back and call during rainy season, and we should not go near the transformer or any electrical circuit on the road when rain is pouring. Can water conduct electricity? They have given two waters in the slide. One is the normal tap water, the other one is distilled water. Between these two, which will conduct electricity, which will not? Therefore, small amounts of mineral salts present naturally in water are beneficial for human health. So, general water is consisting of many mineral salts. However, these salts will make water conducting because salts are ionic compounds, which we have learnt in the previous section. Ionic compounds will conduct electricity. So, we should never handle electrical appliances with wet hands or while standing on a wet floor, because it may easily conduct electricity and give us shock effect. So we can come to a conclusion that water solutions that conduct an electric current are called electrolytes, and water solutions that do not conduct electricity are called non-electrolytes. In tap water, there is mineral salts dissolved, so it will easily conduct electric current. So tap water is an electrolyte, whereas distilled water is a clear water, purified water, which do not conduct electricity. So distilled water will come under non-electrolytes. Distilled water or pure water is non-conducting. The clean water will not conduct electricity. If salt or acid is added to it, it will conduct electricity because the salt is an ionic compound which gets dissociated to cations and anions. Similarly, acids can also spontaneously dissociate to hydronium ions or H plus ions in the presence of water. Therefore, distilled water cannot conduct electricity since it is purified, whereas tap water or rainwater can easily conduct electricity due to the presence of mineral salts dissolved in it.
Let us start an activity to infer, do acids produce ions only in aqueous solution? Do acids produce ions only in aqueous solution? So the activity starts here. We are going to take about 1 gram of solid sodium chloride in a clean and dry test tube as placed here. Now to this we are going to add some concentrated sulfuric acid. What is the observation? Is there any gas coming out of the delivery tube? Test the gas evolved successively with dry and wet litmus paper. So first you should test the gas with dry litmus paper and then with wet litmus paper, both in blue. Dry blue litmus paper and wet blue litmus paper. In which case does the litmus paper change color? Whether there is change in color when the gas evolved out is subjected to dry blue litmus paper, or color change is experienced when it is subjected to wet blue litmus paper. On the basis of this activity, how we can infer the acidic character of dry HCl gas and HCl solution. So what was the question asked in the activity? The hydrochloric gas which is coming out when treated with dry litmus paper and wet litmus paper, what shows color change? Which one shows color change? We have taken sodium chloride and made it to react with sulfuric acid. And what happens is we will get HCl gas plus the sodium sulfate. Now the HCl gas which is liberated out of the experiment is passed through two samples, dry blue litmus, wet blue litmus, which will show color change, because in acid medium blue litmus changes to red. Whether both will show color change or any one only will show color change. You should recollect the question which was asked in the first part of this lesson. Why dry HCl does not show a color change in dry litmus paper? Let us see the equation of HCl dissociation in aqueous medium now. So HCl with water will form hydronium ion and chloride anion. This is the formation of, or formation in the sense it dissociates it with water to form hydronium ion. H plus ion cannot exist alone. H plus ion cannot exist alone. In order that H plus ion should exist, it should be always with water. So without water, there is no H plus ions. If the water or the aqueous medium is not supporting the hydronium ion, it will not show the color change. So what is the answer for the question? Whether there will be color change in wet blue litmus or dry blue litmus? It will be, the color change will be only in wet blue litmus because of the presence of aqueous medium or moisture, whereas dry blue litmus will not show any color change. This is what the inference of what happens to acids in aqueous mediums. Now let's see what happens when base is in a aqueous or water medium. We will take the strong bases, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide. What happens to these bases in water solution? Sodium hydroxide in aqueous medium will get dissociated as Na plus and OH minus ion. When it comes to KOH, it also dissociates in the presence of water as K plus and OH minus ion. Similarly, magnesium hydroxide, when placed in aqueous medium, it gets dissociated as magnesium 2 plus ion and OH minus ion. So now in bases, which is common? Yes, the OH minus ion is common in bases. Therefore, the bases will dissociate to OH minus or hydroxyl ions when placed in aqueous medium. We also learnt the water soluble bases are called alkalis. So when acids are placed in water solution, they dissociate into hydronium ions, and when bases are placed in water solution, they dissociate to hydroxyl ions.
Now let us see a reaction. What happens when water is mixed with an acid or a base? Acid, a strong acid, base, a strong base. Take about 10 ml of water in a beaker as shown in the picture. To this beaker, we have to add few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid and swirl it slowly. Touch the base of the beaker. Is there any change in temperature? Is this reaction an exothermic or endothermic reaction? We have to repeat the same activity with a strong base, say sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and record the observations. The two questions is there any change in temperature, and is this reaction an exothermic or endothermic? We have to recollect the lesson 1 explanation for exothermic and endothermic reaction. What is exothermic and what is endothermic? An exothermic reaction is a reaction where there is liberation of energy in the form of heat and light, or at times only heat. And endothermic reaction is a reaction where there is absorption of energy in the form of heat, light, or even electricity. Now in this case, when sulfuric acid is added to water, it shows an exothermic reaction where there is liberation of energy in the form of heat. So when we touch the base of the beaker, it feels hot as well. Now in this picture, we can see the beaker containing acid, and we are pouring water to the beaker containing acid, and there is a stirrer. Is this setup is correct? Can we add water to acid? Is it safe to us? Let's see what happens. When we add water to a beaker containing acid, it is very harmful and it will explode, because the acid which is in the beaker is a highly concentrated acid or a strong acid. So when we add even a single drop of water, it will immediately explode. We can always see this caution, especially in laboratories where highly concentrated acids are used for experiments. We should always add acid to water, and we should not add water to acid. So the below medium should be water, to which acid should be added.
So the last part of this session is bases and alkalis. Does all bases are soluble in water? No. Only few bases are soluble in water, which is called alkalis, and many bases are insoluble in water. An alkali is a substance that produces hydroxide ions when dissolved in water. An alkali is a substance that produces hydroxide ions when dissolved in water. Since there is dissociation of ions by the alkalis, alkali will conduct electricity. And alkalis are bitter in taste, and strong alkalis are corrosive in nature. That is, they are harmful to skin and other substances as well. These are the most common alkalis which we come across, and all the 4 alkalis which are listed here, what is common in all these 4 alkalis? Yes, the common in all the 4 alkalis is OH group, which is the hydroxyl ion formation, and this is how the alkalis will conduct electricity when they get dissociated in water. Here are few examples of soluble bases and insoluble bases. In soluble bases, we have sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide and ammonia. The examples for non-soluble bases are formed by metal oxides, which includes the major metals like magnesium, copper, lead, etc. We have already told that in the previous part that metal oxides are basic in nature.
Now, as a brief, let us see what is an oxide. An oxide is a compound of oxygen and another element. When oxygen combines with another element, it forms an oxide. For example, oxygen combines with hydrogen to form water. Water is also an oxide which is neutral in nature. And most oxides can be grouped into 4 types. So we have 4 types of oxides, namely acidic oxides, basic oxides, amphoteric oxides, neutral oxides. Now in this chapter we have learnt what are acidic oxides and basic oxides. Amphoteric oxides we will learn exhaustively in chapter 3, metals and non-metals. The best example for neutral oxide is water when it combines with hydrogen. Here are few oxides, namely carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, calcium oxide, carbon monoxide, zinc oxide, barium oxide and nitrogen dioxide. Now among these they have classified them into the major 2 types, which is metal oxides and non-metal oxides. These metal oxides are basic in nature, so they come under basic oxides, and non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature, so they come under acidic oxides. Examples of metal oxides are calcium oxide, zinc oxide, barium oxide, and non-metallic oxides are carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. When they react with water, let's see what happens. In the left hand side we can see metal oxides reacting with water to form the respective metal hydroxides. And when non-metallic oxides react with water, they form acids. That is, when non-metallic oxides combine with water, they form the respective acids. For example, carbon dioxide dissolved in water gives you carbonic acid. Sulfur dioxide dissolved in water will give sulfuric acid. And nitric acid will be formed when nitrogen dioxide is dissolved in water. In this lesson, we will also learn what is pH, the importance of pH in everyday life. Moving on to the first type of oxides, which is acidic oxides. These acidic oxides are formed when a non-metal reacts with oxygen. When a non-metal reacts with oxygen, it forms acidic oxides. These oxides are often gases at room temperature. The best example is carbon dioxide, where carbon is a non-metal and when it combines with oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide. And these acidic oxides are reacting with bases to form salt and water, which is similar to a neutralization reaction where acid and bases react together to form salt and water. So in the place of acids, this acidic oxides can be substituted. Few important acidic oxides are listed here. Sulfur trioxide, when dissolved in water, forms sulfuric acid. Carbon dioxide, when dissolved in water, it forms carbonic acid. And phosphorus oxide, when dissolved in water, it forms phosphoric acids. So please don't forget that acidic oxides are formed from the non-metals and they behave as acids when they react with base to form salt and water. Let us now see what are basic oxides. Basic oxides react with acids to form salt and water. Metals and insoluble in water and solids at room temperature. They are metals which are insoluble in water and they are solid at room temperature. Only sodium oxide and potassium oxide dissolve in water. We will learn this again with metals and non-metals when we learn in detail about the top reactive metals, what happens when they dissolve in water. The example is magnesium oxide is reacting with hydrochloric acid to form magnesium chloride and water. So basic oxides are acidic in nature. Here are few examples of basic oxides. Magnesium in the form of oxide is magnesium oxide, sodium oxide, calcium oxide and copper oxide. So finally the conclusion is acidic oxides are formed from nonmetals which are acidic in nature, and basic oxides are formed from metals which are basic in nature. Since the neutralization reaction is denoted as acid plus base gives salt and water, in the place of acid, acidic oxides can be substituted, and in the place of bases, basic oxides can be substituted. They are both acidic and basic in nature respectively. Finally, we will see an exhaustive comparison of acidic oxides versus basic oxides. Acidic oxides are compounds that can form an acidic solution when dissolved in water. Basic oxides are compounds that can form a basic solution when dissolved in water. Acidic oxides are formed when oxygen reacts with nonmetals. Basic oxides are formed when oxygen reacts with metals. Acidic oxides react with water forming acidic compounds. Basic oxides react with water forming basic compounds. Acidic oxides do not react with acids. Basic oxides react with acids forming a salt. Acidic oxides react with bases forming a salt. Basic oxides do not react with bases to form salt. Acidic oxides are covalent compounds having covalent bonds. Basic oxides have ionic bonds. The pH is increased when dissolved in water in the case of acidic oxides. The pH is decreased when dissolved in water in the case of basic oxides. These acidic oxides are also known as acid anhydrides, and basic oxides are known as base anhydrides.
Thank you for listening, students. Hope you all had a very good session. Thank you.